What's up, guys? We're out here in the garage. We're shooting a review video. We've been testing this reel for a few weeks, and if you've been on the fence about getting one, it's time to talk about it. Today's review is going to be on the Favorite Fishing Soleus XCS. Hey guys, we're back. So doing some rod cleanup, line change, leader swap, stuff like that. Getting stuff cleaned up from our last trip to St. Clair. Start this video, want to let you guys know I did talk with Michigan DNR. I did self-report. An update from that is that we discussed kind of how the whole situation played out and explained everything. I had to provide video of the release of the fish. Thankfully I had that. And after doing so, they decided that we wouldn't get a fine or anything. It was a learning opportunity, and basically don't do it again. So, if you haven't seen that video, you can probably go watch it right about here and see the last trip we had in St. Clair. We absolutely mopped fish up, but I kinda, in the heat of the moment, kind of violated a Michigan regulation. So, wanted to start off by that, give you guys a status update, let you know kind of what happened, and go from there. All right, guys. So if you know anything about me, you know I'm kind of a big Shimano buff. Started all the way back with this guy right here. This is actually my my stepdad's old reel. It's probably almost 20 years old, I would say. This is an OG Shimano Bantam Corrado. I actually just rebuilt it. I just threw some new bearings and an anti-reverse bearing in here, and I'm actually going to start using this thing again. So it should be a really fun reel to get out on the water and test out again and see how it holds up versus some of the newer reels that we have, and really do a comparison, because this is kind of what started it all for Shimano. I mean, it's got a centrifugal brake system. I mean, it's kind of off the cuff. It was way ahead of its time. So really cool reel. So dating all the way back to 98, 99, 2000, I've been using Shimano reels, and I've been really kind of cautious about trying anything else just because I've gotten so used to the feel, the look, the braking systems. Everything about them is something I've really enjoyed, and they've been a pleasure to use. However, I got the opportunity to test out this new Favorite Soleus XCS. Now, I first got my hands on these when we were in Columbus at the Fishing Expo with Favorite. I hadn't touched one, I hadn't used one, hadn't even seen the reel in person, and kind of liked it, but again, it's just flipping around. You're flipping a little jig into a cornhole board, so I didn't really get a chance to actually test it. Talked to the guys, ended up getting a reel sent over to me, and for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just absolutely been throwing all Alabama rigs on this thing. I wanted to stress test this reel and actually see if I could break it, see if I could get something to fail, see if I could get it to grind, see if I could get anything to happen with it. And pleased to let you know, as of yet, we haven't had any failures or any issues with it. There's a couple things I like, there's some things I don't like about it, but we're going to give you guys kind of a non-biased review here. All right, so one of the things I really like about this reel, it's got the spool speed bearings in the reel, which is awesome. I mean, you're not going to have any problems casting this thing. So right off the rip, it's got really good bearings. It already saved me $30 versus what I currently do. All my Shimano reels have spool speed bearings in them. Scott from Spool Speed actually helped design this reel. I think he was kind of the main guy behind it. And you can kind of tell a guy that thought about how reels feel and look was the guy behind this. And there's a lot of good features about it. So the external controlled brake system. So it's a centrifugal system, just like any of the Shimanos that I run. But it has this brake system that you can control like a knob. So any standard reel on the market with magnets has the same kind of knob control system. On this reel, it's controlling a centrifugal brake. I like centrifugal brakes because I feel they have a little bit more control on the brake system, and I feel like they work a little bit better than a magnet. You're able to kind of back off, I would say, on the spool tension, and you're able to back off on the brakes and still get it out there without it backlashing. But I think it has to do with just the way it's stopping the reel from the initial start and the hit when you throw it out there to how it slows the spool down towards the end of the cast. I think that centrifugal brakes always work better. I've never ran a magnetic controlled reel that has casted as well as a centrifugal brake system. So we'll get that right off the tip there. I think if you're looking at a bait cast reel and you're looking to kind of step up your gear, you need to have one that has centrifugal brakes. Now, going from there, the spool is actually fairly deep. I'm throwing 20-pound Vicious Pro fluorocarbon, and I mean, the spool is really lightweight. Where this is a little different than the Shimano's only usually have 2 bearings. They have one in the side plate, and they have one behind the spool tension knob. Now, something really cool about this reel that I didn't realize until I started looking a little bit deeper, but I don't know if you can see that, there is actually, the drive gear is actually sitting inside the bearing. I haven't seen a reel that's done that, and what that means is that you're not going to get the grinding and the issues out of some of these reels that you get because there's no support there on the end of the spool shaft. If you take the spool out, you go grab your reel right now, any Shimano reel, Abu, anything like that. You go grab that reel, take the spool out and spin it, and these gears are going to grind and it's not going to want to reel. This reel, having the drive gear sitting inside the bearing, is an extra layer of support, and it keeps those gears meshed together how they're supposed to be. It's something I really like on this reel, and I think it's going to help this reel last a really long time. These do carry, I believe, a lifetime warranty, and I can see why. You can tell this reel is put together very solidly, and like I said, you can tell that this reel was designed by a guy that does reels. It's not something that Favorite just threw together. I mean, they use Scott, who works around reels and Super Tunes reels all day, to basically design this reel from scratch. He did a really damn good job. This has a billet drag tension knob. It's got 20 pounds of drag. Unless you're going after stripers or maybe flipping and pitching really heavy cover, but again, I still don't see it. I haven't had a problem. Most Shimano reels have 12 to 13 pounds of drag, and they've been perfectly fine. One of the features that nobody really talks about is that this does have a line size indicator. So if you're like me and you like to run a handful of different reels, the same reel, I guess you should say. I've got about 9 SLXs, a handful of Sitka, stuff like that. Normally I'm having to take masking tape and put it on the rod just to indicate what line size is on there. Now you actually have a clicker that's built into here, and it tells you if it's fluorocarbon or mono braid, and you can pick out what size it is. That's something that's really badass, because if you switch reels from rod to rod, or you maybe have the same setup, like I've got a couple rods and reels that are identical setups with different line on them. If I'm fishing, a 5XD and I'm trying to get it a little bit deeper or a little bit shallower, I have different line sizes to play with that. So this is something that's really cool. The only 2 gripes I have about the reel, the gold doesn't bother me, like the gold paint. The gold coating I think is kind of glaring and kind of gaudy. But really, that's one of the only gripes I have about the appearance and the fit finish of the reel. I also am a big fan of paddle knobs instead of these round EVA knobs. So one of the things that I'm going to look at switching here is probably switching to some sort of paddle knob if I can, or a cork paddle or something like that. I really like the Shimano handles. I've gotten used to how those feel. So these round EVA knobs feel really awkward when I'm switching between one or the other. Overall though, now we're probably going to talk about a couple things that you're going to notice. One of the things I think a lot of people get caught off guard is that the bearings make a lot of noise. And I think some people think that maybe there's something wrong with the reel. It's completely normal, and it's something that if you're switching to ceramic bearings, you get used to. You can hear it. It's a louder bearing. It's not as quiet. So a lot of guys think it's a grinding noise when you're reeling. It's not. It's something that you guys really need to just be made aware of. It's just how the bearing's set up. Other than that, I have no gripes, qualms, bitches, anything about this reel. I think Favorite did a really good job with this thing. I'm going to continue to test it and put together a long-term test probably at the end of the year, but thus far it's done really well. Casting wise, this thing is able to cast an Alabama rig a mile. I'm able to have control over the spool, control over the line, and I'm able to throw an Alabama rig a really long way, which on some reels can be awkward, and part of that is because the weight is so heavy, it wants to ramp the spool up really fast. This braking system does a really good job of controlling that, and like I said, I'm able to throw it, I would say 120 to 150 feet. I'm able to launch an Alabama rig out in front of the boat It does a really good job getting line out there. Line management's good, and overall feel of the reel is really good. I think these reels are actually going to last a long time. That bearing support on the drive gear, I think, is one of the biggest features out of any reel I've touched in my hand. The line size indicator. I mean, this is a really, really stout reel. They make them in 7.3, 6.3, and I believe 8-1. So they make one for, fast flipping bottom baits. The 6.3-1 would be for like slow rolling spinner baits, chatter baits, stuff like that. And then the 7.3 is kind of an all-purpose. I use it for biffle heads. I use it for Alabama rigs. I think it's a really good multi-purpose gear ratio that works out well. But like I said, I mean, for $179, this reel is hard to beat. I pretty much always take a Shimano SLX or a Corrado. When you buy a Corrado and you spend $150 to $170, and then you take a set of bearings and you spend another $30, I mean, you're $200 in, and some of the features on this reel aren't available in the Shimano stuff. Shimano's done a really good job. They have really good quality in all their reels, but I think Favorite kind of caught people off guard with this reel, including myself. I didn't expect it to be this good. I'm so used to Shimano reels that I've been very closed-minded to trying something. I've tried some Abu reels, stuff like that. I've just always come back to Shimano. I think this reel may change people's minds. It's a lot better than I think people give it credit for. And I think the more people put these in their hands, the more they're going to actually realize how good this reel is. So, the XCS comes in white, gunmetal, and this gold. I think no matter what color you pick, you're doing yourself a service and grabbing a reel that I think is going to stay with you for a really long time. It's one that you can grow your setup with. It's basically got everything you can ask for in a reel and then some. And for the price point, I mean, you end up saving some money in the back end versus buying, like I said, a Corrado K, even a used Seneca. I mean, even these old Bantam Corrados are still going for $100. I think by the time you grab one, you swap handles, you swap bearings, you do this, you do that. I mean, you're right there at the same price as this guy, and I think this reel is kind of in a different level for the price point. The only reel I could see in the Abu Garcia lineup touching it is stuff that's in the 200 plus range. On the Shimano side, I mean, the Corrado K does a really good job, but again, you still need bearings, you still need a couple other odd net items to get it to this level. So I think, yes, it's $179 for the reel, but you're doing a really, really good job at $179 for grabbing this. So, Scott, Spool Speed, you did a great job. Favorite, you did a really good job picking the right guy to design this reel. And I can't wait to add a few more of these to my lineup. I plan on throwing, I can't say I'll change every reel, but I think I'll gradually start swapping these over to the point where this may be my go-to reel here in the near future for everything that I have. It's really nice. It's a good quality reel. I think we're going to put together, a long-term test, and I'll let you know at the end of the season what I think again. But so far, so good. I can't complain, and I think, we're going to see what this thing is made of, but so far, so good. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys, found this review valuable and meaningful. Some of the things that I pay attention to are maybe odd and end little items that some of the normal guys wouldn't, but I think that allows me to have a perspective that can maybe help you buy something that in the long term will last a little bit better than just talking to a sales guy and getting sold on a reel that may not be that good. So overall, I think Favorite did a home run job on this reel. Hiring Scott to design this reel was the best decision you guys could have made, because I think Scott, having a tuning service and dealing with reels on a daily basis, had some things in his mind that a lot of guys wouldn't think about. And I think it shows in this reel. He did a really good job designing this reel, and Favorite did a really good job coming to market with this reel. I think some people may have been turned off by the $179 price point, but I think when you look at lifetime warranty, you look at ceramic bearings, you look at some of the features and benefits that this reel has versus what's comparable in the market, I think you'll see that, yes, it may be a little more expensive than you're used to, but when you're looking at a Corrado K plus bearings, plus a handle, plus whatever ancillaries you do to it, I mean, you're coming out cheaper in the back end than if you bought a standard Corrado K and tried to modify it to make it equivalent to this. It casts well, it reels well, the drag's smooth. I can't really complain about anything about this reel. Like I said, the only two are really the gold on top and the fact that it doesn't have paddle knobs. Those are two things that I think I can get used to. And as I use this reel more, I'm probably going to end up putting a couple more of these in the lineup. I think it's a really solid reel, and I think that a lot more people are going to get turned on to this reel as they give it a shot and try it out. So hit up Favorite USA, go ahead and head over there, and I think that you should, if you can find a hookup, you could find a discount code. I think MDJ and BLET and some of the pro staff guys are giving one. I would say go on over, use one of their discount codes, grab one of these for 20% off. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty darn good job for the price. So we have some more content coming. If you've noticed, we've been doing St. Clair and we've been hitting some of these smallmouth bodies of water a lot harder lately. Our tournaments are delayed a little bit because of the coronavirus, and because of that, we're able to get out on the water and chase some fish we normally haven't. Part of that is because the BFL Super Tournament is on Erie, and I want to make sure that I can identify some different spots and get on fish if we're able to get out of Sandusky Bay. That tournament's typically been landlocked in Sandusky Bay due to waves and wind. And I think that if we're able to get out of Sandusky Bay, I want to be able to make sure that I can go find some fish and give myself a shot at winning that super tournament. So the other thing is St. Clair is one of those bodies of water. It's kind of like Okeechobee. It's very much like a bowl. It's featureless unless you know of some spots from being out there in the water that you find that hold fish. Isolated rock piles, some channels that don't show up in the maps. There's a lot of cool stuff on St. Clair that you have to be out there to find. A lot of pros don't like it because it does have a benefit to the local guys that go find these spots. And we're going to try to go find them. And we're also going to try to find, some really big 5, 6, 7 pound smallmouth. So we're having some fun doing this. It's kind of a break from the largemouth stuff. And it gives us a chance to use some different tactics, level up on, Ned rigs, level up on our drop shot techniques, level up on just different areas of our game that I think make us more well-rounded anglers. Graphing is a big one, and I think that more people should spend time behind the seat and behind these than just up on the front of the boat casting to the bank. So going to chase these smallmouth is making myself, and it does make you and others, a better offshore angler because you're able to get more acclimated with using these, using your mapping system, and identifying waypoints and finding stuff that some of these other guys don't find. So future content coming is going to be talking about graphing. We're going to be talking about more gear. We're going to be out fishing for smallmouth and largemouth. The tournament season is about to start, so we're going to be taking you out there. And I've got some stuff coming up where I'm going to actually be talking about getting kids into fishing and how I've started to get mine into it, and some different things that I think may be advantageous. We're going to talk about some rods because I think that I've kind of slept on giving you guys some rod reviews and gear recommendations on stuff that I'm using, whether it be spinning rods, spinning reels, casting rods, casting reels. We talked about some entry-level stuff, and I think it's time we start talking about, the next level. What's the next step for some of you anglers that are looking to get into a little bit better gear? That's coming your way. So if there's anything you guys want to see, comment below, let me know what it is. If you have one of these reels, let me know what you think about it. If you're interested in one and you have a specific question, let me know what it is, and I'll try to reach out and get whatever question you have answered and get it back to you. So comment, like, subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot more stuff coming your way. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you guys have had a great time. Hope you guys have been utilizing this time off from work or school, whatever, to get out on the water or take somebody out in the water. And I hope you guys are able to, find your PBs, and I hope you guys have a great time fishing. So have a great time. Tight lines.